Hello, my name is Lianna Kiff. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the new Load Neighbors feature in your Tom Sawyer Perspectives application. The Load Neighbors tool can be added to a project where you need to give users freedom to load and explore data incrementally when you can't predict what data they need. Load Neighbors makes it possible to give users control over what connections they want to explore without writing custom queries in Cypher or Gremlin, ensuring your users can actively engage with the data. The Load Neighbors feature works with Gremlin-compliant or Cypher-compliant integrators, including Cosmos Neo4j, Neptune Gremlin, Neptune OpenCypher, OrientDB, and Tinkerpop. Your project schema must match the schema in the database. We're going to be working with the Cineast example, which uses a Neo4j integrator to look at a database of movies and actors. If you are evaluating Tom Sawyer Perspectives or you have a license, this Cineast project is included in the examples under Big Data. The data we are working with today is a sample database of movies, actors, and directors. This is the schema we have to work with. This schema was generated by using the Extract Schema feature in the Neo4j integrator. We can also view the schema graphically by loading the drawing view. Here you can see we have persons that act in movies, and movies are also directed by persons. And we also have gender data loaded separately from another data source that we use to customize the display. This project comes pre-configured with a few views, including a drawing view, a tree view, and an inspector view. Let's run the project now and take a quick look at what it looks like without Load Neighbors. The project is configured to begin with John Huston in display, but there isn't much we can do with John Huston right now. There's no context menu, and so we would need to do some work to explore data. Let's take a look at how easy it is to fix this issue. We're going to take a look at the drawing view and expand the behaviors, and we're going to configure some items for the context menu. To add items to the context menu, we select the global element in the tree, and then we right-click and select Add Item to the global list. We don't need to scroll far to find the Load Neighbors item and select it. There are a few configuration options we need to set. First, we're going to choose between conditional and unconditional loading. You see it's pre-configured here for unconditional. Let's select conditional loading. This is going to cause the query window to be presented. We need to set the integrator that we're going to use, which is Cineast's. And next, we can select to exclude something we don't want included. And since we know the gender data is not relevant, we're excluding it. We also have the option to change the limits on the data that can be returned, and we can change the text that will display on the screen for the context menu. We're going to leave it as it is. And now we're going to create another Load Neighbors menu item. So let's go back and add another instance of Load Neighbors to our context menu. This time, we're going to change the title of this to Load All Neighbors. This is the title of the item in the designer. Now we're going to choose unconditional loading. We're going to set the same integrator, Cineast. Again, we're going to exclude gender data. And we're going to also set the display text for the context menu here to load all neighbors. And we'll leave the defaults as they are. Now when we run the preview again, we see we have two context menu items. Let's try Load Neighbors first. This one allows us to specify the neighbors that we want to load, and this query dialog is populated by the schema, and it is smart. It only lets you make selections that are appropriate. Let's load only the movies that John directed that are of the genre drama. and see what we get. When you load data incrementally, the new data is highlighted so you know what came in fresh. We can inspect individual items and see tooltips that tell us more about the movie in question. Now let's try load neighbors again. We'll take a quick look at the query dialog a little more closely. One of the things you can do is see the query that will be run. This can be handy if you are trying to learn how the queries work. Let's try a different type of query. Let's query on the release date of the film and look for all the films that were released before a specific date. Let's set the date to January 1st, 1980. We see the new data enter the graph, and we see it highlighted in both the drawing and in the tree view. Starting again with the clean slate, let's try the other option to load all the neighbors, which is unconditional loading. You see we immediately get the full complement of movies that John Huston has directed. Let's highlight a few of these and load more neighbors. And again, I've selected load all neighbors. I could have selected conditional loading and it would have worked as before. We'll use conditional loading here to just get the other movies that Audie Murphy starred in. In this video, we showed how to configure the Load Neighbors tool for a prospective application and how it supports users to explore a graph database without knowing a graph query language and with no need to develop custom code. Including this targeted approach to data navigation in your graph application ensures that users get a contextual snapshot of their data, providing just enough information to make informed decisions and ultimately streamlining the data navigation process. Thank you for joining us. Contact Tom Sawyer Software today to start your free trial of Tom Sawyer Perspectives.